At exactly 2:43 a.m., multiple air defense radars around Tehran began tracking something they were not supposed to see. Not one strike, not a single wave, but dozens of inbound threats, arriving from different directions, at different altitudes, and at carefully staggered intervals. Within minutes, thick columns of smoke were rising over key districts of the Iranian capital. Almost at the same time, explosions were reported hundreds of miles away in Beirut and across southern Lebanon. Two capitals, two fronts, one coordinated operation, and this is where the real question begins. How did the Israeli Defense Forces execute simultaneous deep strikes across such heavily defended airspace while also maintaining pressure on Hezbollah positions in Lebanon? Because this was not just an attack. It was a demonstration of something far more significant, a system of warfare designed to overwhelm, confuse, and paralyze. But to understand how this happened, you need to understand why this strategy exists in the first place. For years, Israel has been preparing for a multi-front conflict, not a single battlefield, not a single enemy, but a network. On one side, Iran, with its expanding missile program, regional influence, and growing stockpile of precision-guided munitions. On the other side, Hezbollah in Lebanon, widely considered one of the most heavily armed non-state actors in the world, with tens of thousands of rockets positioned within striking distance of Israeli cities. The challenge was never just stopping a single missile. The challenge was stopping thousands, and more importantly, stopping the command structures that control them. Iran invested heavily in building layered military infrastructure, missile production facilities, underground storage bunkers, command and control centers embedded within urban environments, air defense systems designed to detect and intercept incoming aircraft and missiles. The goal was simple: create a system that is too complex to destroy in one strike, force any attacker into a prolonged and costly campaign. But Israel developed a different approach. Instead of focusing on single-target precision strikes, the strategy shifted toward simultaneous deep strike operations. Hit multiple critical nodes at once, disrupt coordination, collapse response time, and create confusion inside the decision-making chain. Because in modern warfare, speed is no longer just about how fast a missile travels. It is about how fast an entire system can react. The strikes on Tehran were described by Israeli sources as a wide-scale wave. That phrase matters, because it does not refer to a single barrage. It describes a layered attack pattern. First, long-range precision-guided munitions. These are typically air-launched cruise missiles or standoff weapons designed to hit targets from outside the range of most air defense systems. They travel at subsonic or low supersonic speeds, but they compensate with terrain following flight paths, low radar visibility, and high accuracy. Next, additional waves timed seconds or minutes apart. Some may include loitering munitions. These are drones that can circle over an area before diving onto a target once it is identified. Others may include electronic warfare elements, systems designed to jam radar, disrupt communications, and create false targets on enemy screens. This layering is critical, because air defense systems are built around detection, tracking, and interception. But when dozens of targets appear at once, especially with different speeds and signatures, the system begins to struggle. It has to decide what to engage first, and in that moment of decision, delays happen. Delays in air defense are dangerous. At the same time, operations were underway in Lebanon. Strikes targeting Hezbollah infrastructure in the south, rocket launch sites, storage facilities, command positions. This was not just about hitting targets, it was about preventing retaliation. Because Hezbollah has the capability to launch large-scale rocket barrages within minutes. By striking these positions simultaneously with the Tehran operation, Israel complicates the response. Commanders are forced to split attention. Communications become overloaded, coordination slows down. And this is where the deeper strategy becomes visible. This was not two separate operations. It was one integrated system, designed to stretch the response capacity of both Iran and its regional proxies at the exact same time. Initial claims from Israeli sources suggested that a significant portion of Iran missile capability may have been degraded. Some estimates mentioned figures above 70%. However, these numbers are difficult to verify independently. And in conflicts like this, early assessments are often incomplete. But even if the exact percentage is uncertain, the intent is clear. Target the infrastructure that supports missile deployment, not just the missiles themselves, because destroying launchers and storage sites is only part of the equation. Disrupting command and control is what slows down future attacks. But there is something even more important happening beneath the surface, something that explains why these strikes are so difficult to stop. Because this is not just about firepower, it is about timing, synchronization, and system-level warfare. And once you understand how these elements work together, the scale of this operation becomes far more concerning. Because the real advantage is not the weapons themselves, it is the ability to coordinate them across multiple battlefields at once. What makes a modern air defense system fail is not always destruction. Sometimes it is hesitation. A delay of just a few seconds, a misidentified target, a radar screen filled with too much information at once. And that is exactly what these simultaneous strike patterns are designed to create. To understand why, you need to look at how air defense systems actually work. At their core, they rely on 3 steps: detection, tracking, interception. First, radar systems scan the sky for incoming objects. Once something is detected, the system attempts to classify it. Is it a missile, a drone, a decoy, or something else entirely? Then comes tracking. The system calculates speed, direction, and projected impact point. Finally, interception. A defensive missile is launched, guided toward the incoming threat, and ideally destroys it before impact. This process sounds fast, and it is, but it is not instant. Even the most advanced systems require time to process data and make decisions, and this is where saturation becomes a weapon. During the strikes on Tehran, the incoming threats were not identical. They were intentionally mixed. Some were likely low-flying cruise missiles, using terrain to stay below radar coverage. Others may have been higher-altitude munitions, designed to be visible and draw attention. There may also have been loitering drones entering the battle space earlier, waiting for the right moment to strike. Each of these presents a different problem for defenders. Low-flying targets are harder to detect. High-altitude targets are easier to see, but require faster interception decisions. Drones can change direction mid-flight, and when all of them appear at once, the system becomes overloaded. Because it cannot treat every threat equally, it must prioritize. And prioritization under pressure creates vulnerability. Electronic warfare likely played a key role as well. This does not always mean completely shutting down radar. In many cases, it is more subtle. Signal interference, false returns, noise injected into the system. Imagine a radar screen where real targets are mixed with phantom signals. Operators now face uncertainty. If they engage a false target, they waste a missile. If they hesitate, a real threat gets through. This is the kind of pressure that breaks even advanced defense networks. Another critical factor is timing. The phrase wide-scale wave suggests more than just volume. It suggests sequencing. Instead of launching everything at once, strikes are staggered. Some arrive first to trigger defensive responses, others follow moments later, targeting the same systems that just revealed their positions. Because when an air defense battery activates its radar, it becomes visible. And once it is visible, it can be targeted. This creates a deadly cycle. Defend and reveal. Reveal and be destroyed. Now add geography into the equation. Tehran is not an easy target. It is deep inside Iranian territory, protected by layers of air defense systems, including domestically produced platforms and imported technology. To reach it, strike systems must travel long distances, avoid detection, and maintain accuracy. This often involves standoff weapons launched from outside contested airspace. Air-launched cruise missiles, long-range drones, possibly even stealth aircraft acting as forward sensors or strike platforms. These systems are designed to extend reach without exposing pilots to high-risk environments. And more importantly, they allow attacks to be launched from multiple directions, which complicates defense even further. At the same time, operations in Lebanon followed a different but complementary pattern. Hezbollah relies heavily on dispersed infrastructure, rocket launchers hidden in rural terrain, storage facilities embedded within civilian areas, command networks designed to operate even under heavy bombardment. To counter this, strikes must be both precise and continuous. Single strikes are not enough. Targets must be hit repeatedly, often within short time windows, to prevent relocation or recovery. This requires persistent surveillance, drones, signals intelligence, real-time targeting updates. It is a different kind of warfare compared to deep strikes on a capital city. But when executed simultaneously, the effect multiplies, because now decision-makers in Tehran are not just dealing with incoming strikes. They're also dealing with disruptions to their regional proxy network. Communication lines between Iran and Hezbollah become strained. Orders may be delayed or lost. Situational awareness becomes fragmented, and this directly impacts retaliation, because effective retaliation requires coordination, timing, clear command structure. When those elements are disrupted, response becomes slower and less effective. There's also a psychological dimension. Simultaneous strikes create uncertainty at every level. Military leadership must assess damage, determine what systems are still operational, and decide whether further strikes are coming, all while under pressure, all within minutes. This uncertainty forces caution, and caution in a fast-moving conflict can be as limiting as physical damage. But here is the critical point. None of this relies on a single breakthrough technology. There is no one weapon that explains the entire operation. Instead, it is the integration of multiple systems. Precision weapons, drones, electronic warfare, real-time intelligence, all working together in a coordinated framework. This is what modern military analysts refer to as system-level warfare. And it changes the rules, because it is no longer about who has the strongest weapon. It is about who can coordinate more effectively across more domains in less time. And that raises a much larger question. If this kind of coordinated multi-front strike can disrupt even-layered defense systems, what does that mean for future conflicts? Because Iran is not the only country building complex air defense networks, and Hezbollah is not the only group relying on distributed missile capabilities. What we are seeing here is not just a regional event, it is a preview, a demonstration of how modern wars may be fought across multiple fronts at the same time, with overwhelming speed. The most important part of these strikes is not what was hit, it is what was revealed. Because operations like this expose a shift in how wars are being planned, executed, and potentially won. And that shift is happening faster than most defense systems can adapt. For decades, military power was measured in numbers. More tanks, more aircraft, more missiles. But modern conflict is no longer defined by volume alone. It is defined by coordination, the ability to connect intelligence, strike systems, and decision-making into a single, continuous loop, and then execute that loop faster than the opponent can respond. This is exactly what simultaneous strikes on Tehran and Beirut demonstrate. A compressed decision cycle, from detection to strike in minimal time, across multiple fronts. In traditional warfare, distance provided a form of protection. Capitals located deep inside national territory were harder to reach. Response time was longer. Warning systems had more time to react. That advantage is shrinking. Long-range precision weapons, combined with real-time intelligence, are reducing the importance of geographic depth. What matters now is not how far a target is, it is how quickly it can be found, identified, and struck. And in this environment, even heavily defended cities are vulnerable. The implications for Iran are significant. Its strategy has long relied on layered defense and regional deterrence, missile forces, proxy networks, distributed infrastructure, all designed to absorb attacks and respond with sustained pressure. But simultaneous multi-front strikes challenge that model. They force Iran to defend everything at once. And defending everything at once is extremely difficult, because resources are limited, attention is limited, time is limited. For Hezbollah, the impact is equally serious. Its strength lies in its ability to launch large-scale rocket attacks over extended periods, but that capability depends on preparation, stockpiles, launch coordination, communication with higher command. When those elements are disrupted early, the scale and effectiveness of retaliation can be reduced. Even small delays can have strategic consequences, because timing is critical in rocket warfare. Now consider how other countries are watching this. Military planners around the world study operations like this in detail, not just to understand what happened, but to understand what might happen next. Countries with advanced air defense systems are now facing a new problem. How do you defend against a coordinated multi-vector attack that combines drones, missiles, and electronic warfare at the same time? Upgrading interceptors alone is not enough. Faster missiles do not solve the problem of information overload. More radar does not solve the problem of signal confusion. The challenge is systemic, and solving it requires rethinking the entire defense architecture. Some nations are already exploring new approaches: artificial intelligence-assisted target prioritization, automated response systems, decentralized command structures that can operate even when communication is disrupted. But these solutions come with their own risks. Automation can reduce reaction time, but it also reduces human control. And in high-stakes scenarios, mistakes can escalate quickly. There's also the question of escalation. Simultaneous strikes across multiple regions increase pressure on decision-makers. They create urgency, they compress timelines, and in doing so, they raise the risk of rapid escalation. Because when a country feels that its core infrastructure is under threat, the threshold for response may change. This is where strategic calculations become unpredictable. Another key factor is sustainability. Launching a complex multi-front operation is one thing. Sustaining it over time is another. It requires a steady flow of intelligence, reliable supply chains for precision munitions, continuous surveillance, and the ability to adapt as the enemy changes tactics. Because once a pattern is observed, defenses begin to adjust, new countermeasures are developed, and the cycle continues. So what we are seeing is not a final form of warfare. It is an evolving one, a constant competition between offense and defense, between detection and deception, between speed and resilience, and each operation pushes that evolution forward. But perhaps the most important takeaway is this: the battlefield is no longer defined by a single location. It is a network, a connected system of targets, sensors, and decision points spread across regions. And when that network is attacked simultaneously, the impact is not just physical, it is structural. It affects how an entire military system functions. This is why the strikes on Tehran and Beirut matter far beyond their immediate impact. They show that modern warfare is moving towards synchronized, system-level operations, where success is determined not just by firepower, but by the ability to coordinate across distance, domains, and time. And this leads to a final, unsettling reality. If this level of coordination becomes the norm, future conflicts may unfold faster than political leaders can manage. Decisions will need to be made in minutes, not hours. Responses will need to be immediate, and the margin for error will continue to shrink. Because in this new era of warfare, the side that controls the tempo controls the outcome. And once that tempo is established, it becomes incredibly difficult to take it back.